I'm Dr. Amber Brooks.
I'm Dr. Kristen Trulier-Jackson.
I'm Dr. Tamika Dawson-Knox.
I'm Dr. Lakeisha Legree.
And this is the CAPE MD.
All right, ladies, today we are going to talk all about skin. So everything from health of our skin to the products that we put on our skin every day. So first, just as mothers as well as physicians, one thing that I wanted to bring up today, because I heard on the news that a very reputable and popular brand that specifically markets to younger girls and teens, it was found that they had asbestos in their makeup.
Wow.
Asbestos. Yes, ma'am. So the same thing that is found in older homes, that, you know, if you're renovating and they find it in your home, they got a whole contamination crew.
Scary.
And young girls' makeup. Yes.
Wow.
Not just asbestos, but there are very popular brands of makeup that have lead in their lipstick as well. And again, when you think of homes, it's no longer legal to have paint or lead in paint in homes.
Right. Children.
And what was it? Because they were afraid that kids were going to eat the paint chips. But where do we put lipstick? On our lips.
And
we lick our lips, we eat.
And if your daughters are like my daughter, she will not just put it on, but she's got, it tastes like coconut, mommy.
Yep.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, and it angers me.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's scary every day with your children, because we are in a time where people see stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and they want to be the new Kim K, and they want to be Insta famous and TikTok. So they're putting on this makeup way earlier than we ever did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is scary.
Absolutely. And when you think about your skin, it's our largest organ. So what we put on our skin is absorbed into our bodies. And we don't think about that when we go to the store and buy our products. But it's something that we all need to be more aware of.
Why isn't this more prevalent? Well, why isn't this information out there?
Well, if you think about it, beauty is a big industry. Beauty makes a lot of money for a lot of people. The biggest thing to realize is that, unlike with pharmaceutical companies, if you think about the blood pressure medicine someone takes or the diabetes medicine someone takes, all of those drugs have to go through very rigorous testing. They have to meet safety standards through the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Personal care products, your skincare, your makeup, your body wash, lotion, that does not have to get approval through the FDA.
Perfumes.
Yep.
Perfumes.
Vitamins.
Is one of the biggest.
All our supplements.
Yeah. Perfumes is actually a really good one to talk about, because most people don't realize that fragrances are actually considered a trademark or a trade secret, I should say. It's probably a better term for it. And because of that, they are not required to list the ingredients in their fragrance.
I didn't even know. I never knew that.
So next time you look at your body wash or lotion, if it has a scent, if you look at the ingredients, a lot of times you'll just see fragrance, but they're not required to list out exactly what ingredients create that fragrance.
Crazy. I never even thought
And I
about
think
that.
about so many kids with allergies. Your
Yes,
baby,
your daughter has lots of allergies.
lots of allergies. And so, gosh, that could be really scary for your child to be exposed to a fragrance and not know whether or not they may have an allergic reaction to it.
Exactly.
This is all good information that I'm soaking in, because even with back to school shopping, you know, we go into these stores and what do you see? The lip gloss, the bath bombs, the chapstick, you know, and she's drawn to that. And I can't tell you, every single bath bomb I've let her try, break out. Every single one, break out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, Dr. Kristen, is there a mechanism for which we can figure out whether or not our products are safe to use?
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. Actually, there are a lot of organizations out there now that are trying to make the personal care industry more transparent. And that's a great thing for consumers. There are some resources like the Environmental Working Group. It's a nonprofit organization. It's completely independent. And they have a database called Skin Deep. It's an app. You can download it on your phone.
Nice.
It's a database of products. You can search the products you already use to see how safe they are. You can even be out shopping and see a product that you're like, oh, I want to try this. You can scan it into the app, and if it's in their database, it'll tell you
That's really good.
how safe its ingredients are.
You know, the most comforting thing you said, Dr. Kristen, is that it's independent. So
Yes.
that means they have no loyalty
Mhm.
to a company that makes some of these products. So that makes me feel confident
Yeah.
in that I'm getting the truth about what's the ingredients in these particular products.
Right. And I think what I worry about too is, you know, I'm raising a Black daughter. You know, she's an African American young girl. She's 19 years old. And are these products even tested on her? Or
Ah, that's a
And-
good question.
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because women of color, people of color, you know, unfortunately, we do bear the majority of the toxic load in this country. When it comes to women of color, the products that are marketed specifically to us carry some of the most toxic ingredients.
wow.
Less than 25% of the products that are marketed specifically to women of color are deemed safe or pass the tests that the environmental working group has to deem whether a product is safe or not.
Yikes.
And why is that? Is that because we're not a part of well, number one, I guess there's no regulation. So are there even studies to test this stuff, or do people just kind of, you know, make it in the kitchen
Well,
and then
that's-
you can market it if you
yeah.
got a good
And
taste?
that's the problem with it not being regulated by a government agency like the FDA. Because right now it's left up to the brand to determine how safe they are going to make their products, which ingredients they choose. And if they're choosing profit over safety, sometimes the consumer is the last one to know.
Right.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that has me thinking. I mean, I'll be very honest. I've never looked at any of my skincare products on the environmental working group, and you know, I look around at famous Black female actresses who have beautiful skin. I look around at my own family members, you know, and you know that old saying of "Black don't crack." I feel like it's real, and so I wonder if that's a part of why we don't take more care in looking things up, because you know it's known that we have just beautiful skin, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely scientifically proven that the melanin in our skin does help protect us from the sun's harmful UV rays. And I think that because we do age differently, our mothers and our grandmothers, they didn't have to put a lot of things on their skin. So that's one reason why I feel like we're not as informed, because we're not really used to trying X, Y, and Z. We're like, I use this because my mama used it, my grandmama used it, and that's all I use.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we still need to take care of our skin. We have some added protection, but that doesn't mean going to sleep with your makeup on and using petroleum jelly.
Oh, that's
and
a big one. That people are like, oh, I just use Vaseline. I'm like, oh.
I'm
Yeah.
guilty. I will lather my children up. Like, you are not going to leave this house ashy.
Yeah. I mean, so that I think plays a big role. But we just have to remember that we have to take care of our skin too. I think one of the biggest things that we have to stop telling ourselves is that we do not need to wear sunscreen.
Oof.
Oh, that's a big one.
People of color, everyone needs to wear sunscreen.
Men
daily.
included.
Yes, because I spray it on my husband who's bald all over,
Yes.
because that's the one, you know, he has no protection up there
Yeah,
Right.
at all.
yeah.
He has no hair to protect his
Same.
skin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think the misnomer too is that the melanin is all protective
Right.
from skin cancers, and that is not true.
That is correct. I think skin cancer is something that we don't talk about enough in our communities because it doesn't affect as many of us. In the United States, skin cancer is the most prevalent cancer. However, amongst people of color, it's more rare. So amongst Hispanics, it only accounts for 4 to 5% of the cancers they get. For Asians, only about 2 to 4%. And for Black people, it's really only about 1 to 2% of the cancers that we get. However, because we are not as aware of it and we're not really looking for it, a lot of times by the time we seek care,
It's
it's
too late.
already at a more aggressive stage, and
It's too
our
late.
prognosis is poor at that point. So
Dr.
while
Kristen, I'm gonna interrupt you a
Yeah.
little bit. Tell us what prognosis means, because not
Yes.
everybody understands prognosis with respect to clinical
Mhm.
diagnosis.
Yeah, so the diagnosis is when the doctor tells you what the disease is. So
Mhm.
if we're talking about skin cancer, when you find out you do have skin cancer, that's your diagnosis. The prognosis is kind of like the outlook. Does it look like this is something that we can treat easily and that you will have an increased survival rate from? Or is this
I
something
see.
that looks like it's going to be difficult to treat and you may not, your chance of survival from this is very low? So that would be a poor prognosis.
Right.
So it sounds like we, as people of color, need to be as concerned about things like lung cancer and, you know, cardiovascular, you know, health risks that will, you know, proceed to develop into something negative, and skin cancer. So basically, cigarettes and sunscreen, you need to have as equal of an importance
Absolutely.
with respect to both.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought up cigarettes because, yes, what you put on your skin is important, but what you put in your body is important also. If you are purchasing the most expensive skincare line, you use it religiously, but you're smoking every day.
Right, you throw money in
you-
the toilet,
you're
money in
throwing
the
money
toilet.
every
If you're
day.
not drinking water, if you're not exercising.
Hydrate.
Yes.
Hydrating is so
Very
important,
important.
especially for skincare, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even stress levels can play a role in the health of your skin. Sometimes it's difficult to to reduce your stress. I'm sure we all know about that. But but you know, that's why self-care is important. That's why we have to take the time to relieve stress because it does affect our health.
So how do you pick a skincare regimen for yourself?
Oh,
That's a
great
great
question,
question.
because I'm a product junkie.
I am too.
Yeah.
I'll go
So,
to the
and
store
sometimes people just want to try it all.
buy.
And that becomes difficult because we don't all have the same kind of skin. Some people's skin is more oily and therefore can be more acne prone. Some people's skin is more dry. Some people have combination skin where they might have like an oily T-zone, but then they might have dry cheeks, or some people just are blessed and have normal skin and they don't really have a specific skin issue.
I see.
And it could be seasonally related too. You know, I
Yeah.
find that my skin, especially in the winter time, and my children's skin are dry. That's why they call me the moisturized lady, because I literally terrorize those children every morning. Because I just like, yes, I am, because I just,
She gonna get rid of the Vaseline though.
okay, I might upgrade to something else.
We gonna get
But
rid of
Vaseline is like, it's proven, it's tried and true.
Is it though?
Yeah, that's what I got laddered up with.
Why is it tried and true? Because
she did it.
Right,
grandma.
grandma.
Man, they call me the moisturized lady, but we all have dry skin, and especially in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And see, mine is the reverse. So I'm oily, and so in the winter, I feel like I produce way more oil because it's so dry out. So I'm way more acne prone in the winter.
Interesting.
Because essentially my body is just going crazy because it's trying to produce as much oil as possible to protect me.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's something that people with oily skin think, that because my skin is naturally oily, I don't have to keep it moisturized and hydrated, and that is not true. If you don't keep it hydrated, if you don't keep it moisturized, just like you said, your glands are going to overproduce the oil. They're going to say, oh, I'm dry, I need to make more oil, I need to make more oil. And then that's when you'll get the overproduction of oil, you'll get clogged pores, and you'll get acne. So
Wow.
moisturizing is just as important.
You just dropping knowledge bomb over here. Fact versus myth. I'm loving it. I'm learning over here.
So get rid of the
myself.
Vaseline.
Okay,
Yes, we
fine.
can get rid of Vaseline.
I'll upgrade to something else. And it's so
But
cheap.
you know
It's
what?
cheap.
It is
You know,
cheap.
y'all know I'm cheap. Like,
That brings up a really good issue. Why is it that we continue to do the things that have been generationally passed down to us, and we don't even understand why we're doing it? But you just do it because Big Mama did it.
well,
This is a different time, and although it worked for Big Mama, it might still work. But you just have to ask the question, why, as opposed to just doing. Yeah.
fair enough.
And
Fair enough.
sometimes,
Put it away.
Okay,
Put it
all
away.
right. All
and sometimes
right.
when you know better, you do better. So when you do know, you
Okay,
can get it right.
all right.
You're not the
My
only
daughters
one.
will thank
You're
you,
not
by
the
the way.
only
They're
one,
like,
Dr.
ooh,
Amber.
thank God mommy's not chasing me with the Vaseline.
Well, the other thing I think is a big thing is like chemical pills and
Oh,
Botox
yes.
and all
let's
these
talk
things,
about that.
fillers.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
all these
let's
other
talk
things
about
like
that.
that.
Laser.
Laser.
There's
Yes.
so many
Yes.
things in the aesthetic
Mhm.
community now
Yes.
that I want to try it because, you know, all the bells and whistles,
Mhm.
especially on social media, makes you think, ooh, that looks good. But very rarely do you see those images with people of color as
Absolutely.
advertisements.
Yeah.
So,
So I think it's definitely important, first of all, to pick a good doctor to go to when it comes to aesthetic treatments. And it doesn't have to be a doctor per se. I would say just find someone who's been doing it a while. They have the experience, and they are knowledgeable about not just skin,
training.
but
Absolutely.
skin of color, because
Yes.
our skin, it reacts to different lasers and peels differently.
Oh.
One
Wait, pause. We gotta talk about the lasers.
Mm.
Let's talk about the lasers, Dr. Amber.
Ooh, yes, please.
Whew, where do I begin?
Start your story, girl.
So I have some, you know, it's still an ongoing issue in full transparency, but I have unwanted hair growth, and it's genetic. My mom has this issue. My grandmother has this issue. In fact, and my grandmother, she's 87, and she's like, I'm not doing all. She's a child. I'm too old for all that tweezing and picking and all waxing all that y'all are doing. And
I'm
so,
big waxing it until I go into
hey,
the grave.
you and me both. I'm just saying,
Wax is
okay? So much so that one of my daughters was like, Grandma, why you got a beard? And she's like, child, I can't do what your mama and your grandma do. But anyway, so I live in a smaller market, and but I did my research, and I went and I found a provider who I thought was very knowledgeable. And so I had, the first 2 treatments went well. So I had laser treatment just around my face. And the first 2 treatments went well. And Dr. Kristen can chime in here, but with the laser treatments, so the way that the hair grows, you have to stay on top of the treatments like every 4 to 5 weeks, maybe every 4 to 6 weeks. And so for my 3rd treatment, my provider was out on vacation. And so I got scheduled with someone I had never met. And you all, this is why it's so important to listen to your body. During that 3rd treatment, I just knew something wasn't right. Like, I was like, this is way more painful than the first 2 treatments. Like, I knew.
That intuition.
Yeah, there was something telling me, like, this is not right. It was painful. And I'm a physician, and yet I did not speak up for myself.
Which is crazy because we hear that from our patients all the time, that they aren't saying, oh, wait, stop, don't do this, because, hey, I'm not that knowledgeable. But the fact that we have that knowledge and we still don't always speak up for ourselves is
Right.
shocking.
So I-
we're human
Yeah.
first, you know,
Right.
human emotions.
Right, and you know, I thought I trusted that she had the notes from the previous provider and knew what the other provider had done, and that I was in good hands. Anyways, long story short, it was really painful, and I went home and I had some redness that evening. Y'all, I woke up the next morning, burns
Oh,
all around my face, burns, like burns.
yeah, I was wondering why he was wearing scarves and it wasn't
Oh,
wintertime.
child, thank God it was winter, so I didn't look too crazy, because I was wrapped up like a mummy.
I think that might have been like fall or spring or something.
Girl, I was wrapped up. The North Carolina weather probably didn't even call for all that, but I was, wow. Yeah, but for like 2 months. And thank goodness, I have a really good friend who we went to medical school with, and she's a dermatologist in Tulsa. And thank God for Dr. Keisha Buster, because she just talked me through the whole process, and she made sure that the treatments that I was getting at home were appropriate. She is also a physician of color. She's a black woman, very prominent dermatologist in Tulsa. And she, thank goodness that I had that resource to help me walk through the process. But it took months to heal. And thank God that it eventually healed. But it was traumatic.
Yeah,
It was-
cannot imagine.
It was traumatic. So I'm back to tweezing and threading. And I'm just not sure if I would ever be brave enough to do laser again.
I was
Sure.
just gonna ask you that.
Sure.
Would you
Yeah.
ever be brave enough to do it again?
I don't know. It's been so this episode took place in 2016, and it's been 4 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think back to your point, you need to have a provider that you're comfortable with, who's knowledgeable about whatever skin care regimen or treatment you're considering, that you're comfortable with them and that they're knowledgeable.
Yeah. So speaking of being knowledgeable about it, one thing that we all have to be mindful of is that, all of our skin tones are different. And because of that, not every procedure is for us.
Right.
So the Fitzpatrick scale is something that is used in aesthetics. It's a way to quantitatively categorize skin hues.
Yeah.
And it's from categories 1 through 6, and it's based on how skin will respond to UV light. So for instance, people who are a 1 on the scale, they're very fair. They typically burn when exposed to UV light or sun rays. They don't tan. So people who are so fair that they don't really tan when they sunbathe, they just burn. Versus people who are a 6 on the scale, they tan, they very rarely, if ever, burn.
I see.
So,
So it sounds like, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to an establishment that even if you've researched it, ask questions.
yes.
If they don't know the
Absolutely.
Fitzpatrick scale, you might want to exit stage left.
Yes,
Absolutely.
So I hear you say be knowledgeable. So be responsible of your own sort of skin health care and do the research yourself. Everybody's always on Google.
Yes.
Ask questions when you go to your provider, and don't make assumptions that one provider has given adequate, what we call sign out or information about your treatment. And more importantly, listen to the little voice.
Oh, yeah.
If the little voice is not correlating with what's going on, then something's not right. Because
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10, that little voice is right.
Well, ladies.
So any take-home tips? Any
Yeah.
last-minute
So
take-home
we want to
tips?
give you information about the Environmental Working Group and the Skin Deep app that people can download to their phones and use to pick safer options for themselves and their families. There's another app called Think 30, and that also is another app that you can download. And in the same way, just be more informed about the products that you're putting on your skin every day.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes,
Kristen.
thank you so
I
much
learned
for
so
your
much.
sharing.
Man, me
Yes,
too.
yes, maybe we can have a follow-up on this.
Absolutely.
I know.
Talk about some of the products that some of our, ancestors or some of our current Black Hollywood people, like I'm hashtag Angela Bassett goes, what does she
Me too. What is her
What is
regimen?
in those products, what are those ingredients? So this is excellent.
Yes,
Thank
thanks,
Thank
ladies.
you.